On this episode of Narcissist Apocalypse, we talk with an abuse survivor named Tommy, and Tommy was raised by a malicious, controlling father. It's a story of impossible expectations, humiliation, circular logic, addiction, gaslighting, and going no contact for good. Welcome to Narcissist Apocalypse, everyone. I am Brandon Chadwick, and with me today we have Tommy. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brandon. How you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. And if you want to be a guest like Tommy is today, please do go to our website at narcissistapocalypse.com. Click on the guest form button, fill out the form, and press the submit button. We also have a support group at our website. So if you need support, join our support group at narcissistapocalypse.com. And today we do have a content warning as we do discuss physical abuse in this episode. And today you're going to hear Tommy's story. And Tommy grew up as the scapegoat for his father. And Tommy had to deal with humiliation, body shaming, physical abuse, expectations, not being good enough, triangulation, gaslighting, circular conversations of logic. But his dad was just a really mean person. And he really had no right to be called a dad. He was just very power and control hungry. He was an abuser, and it drove Tommy to addiction to cope with everything that was going on. And Tommy is in recovery now, and I know his story will validate so many of you out there. So a big thank you to Tommy for being here with us today. And now I'm going to get out of my way and your way. Tommy, the floor is now yours.
My daily habit is to turn on Narcissist Apocalypse on the 45-minute drive to work every morning. So this is kind of surreal. So anyway, the relationship that I'm talking about is my father and I. So as far as my father, if we could go back, what I know about his life growing up, because I think there's a lot hidden and you never really felt like you were getting the full story. And you had to be careful what you said around my dad. For instance, I remember he had a black and white picture of his father, but he was dead. When did he die? I don't know. I think it was when my father was a child, but I have no idea what age. My dad grew up in the South. In the South, it was in Civil War South area. He was born during the Depression, as was my mother. But as far as that picture of my grandfather, I asked a couple of questions about it and got cut off short. And the next time I went into the bedroom, that picture was gone, never to be seen again. So I kind of took that as don't ask a lot of questions about his past. And my mother, as far as my mother goes, she is a wonderful person. They're both alive. They're still married. I love her dearly. I had a good childhood. I had a wonderful childhood, I'd say, up till about the age of 8. Okay. And when I was a little kid, yeah, a real cute kid, one of 4 children, and I was a twin. We were twins. I had a twin sister. Oh, look at the cute babies, blah, blah, blah. And also, you're totally dependent on him. You know, you're totally dependent on your parents, and you're a little cute thing. That was just fine. And even as I was growing up, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think everything was fine. And then you start getting a little older and you're not this cute little kid anymore. You're more a smelly boy. He starts having some expectations of you. And there's nothing wrong with having some expectations, but you got to remember you're dealing with a very fragile ego. As far as the relationship between my mother and my father, I don't think it's uncommon for back in that time that the mother was really subservient to the husband, but she did things with us. She took us out to the farm. She did things like, I remember she took me to the Jerry Lewis movie theater, just she and I, to watch Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. This is the old Japanese version. This is not a cartoon. This is the old, when they dressed up in the Godzilla suit. She was willing to do that stuff. So anyway, my mom was very subservient. She did a lot for us, but at a certain point, I don't think she could protect me. I don't think my sisters got it as bad as I did. I kind of think that because when we were growing up, when there were chores to do, chores like dishes, do the dishes, clear the table, sweep, my sisters had to do it, but I could sit in the den with my dad. I could just chill. I didn't have to do it because that was a woman's work. And so the gendered roles were very old fashioned, and that's the way it was. So their relationship was like that, very old fashioned. Mom didn't work. She had to take care of the house, and she also had to do whatever my father said. And I think she did as good a job as she could. And really, what I think ended up happening is you have 4 kids, you're going to gain a little bit of weight, more than likely. And that did not go over well. And I remember my mother being treated horribly by my father about her weight. But at a certain point, you would be thinking in your head, okay, that's enough. He didn't have that. It would go on and continue the next day. And I remember feeling so sorry for my mother. And that was the way it was. My father, if I could touch on how my father operates as far as I can see looking back, that everyone is just an extension of how life should be. Like the women have to be fit and trim and beautiful and say the right things and do the right things. And that was it. And that was a very strict rule. Me, I think I caught a little slack on that, but like I said, as I started to get a little bit older and I'm not this cute little kid, and I start getting maybe a little bit chubby, although I've looked at pictures of my whole childhood, I don't see a fat kid. I really don't. I see a good looking kid. And like I said, as I started to grow up a little bit, I became more of a liability. It was more like I didn't look right, I didn't act right, and I played sports. I remember playing tackle football in second grade, and it was constant criticism. Because to a fragile ego, if you're not out there and you're the star quarterback and you win the game at the last second, it's just not going to be good enough. You're not doing it right. And there was a lot of stuff about my weight, and it was a lot of getting chewed out for you didn't make this play or you didn't do that play. And I really think my mom tried to keep the peace, but she was being abused by my dad. You know, my mom was being treated badly. I remember having, this is back in the days, we had a dining room and mom would cook dinner and she would serve us. But this particular time we had guests over. So we have guests and mom has prepared a large meal for everybody and she's serving everybody like a servant. And when she gets done, she sits down to eat and she gets, apparently my father thought she was eating too fast. She wasn't eating too fast. He just makes it up. But he says, could you please slow down? And everybody stops. And then he starts making squealing pig noises and shoveling food towards his mouth, like mocking her. But that wasn't what she was doing. It was just all made up. And it's so outrageous. Nobody says anything. The guests just stopped. And I just remember feeling so bad. And of course, she started crying and she puts down her silverware, and she gets up, she runs into the bedroom. And I'll guarantee you she caught holy hell for that, for leaving the table like that. And this is just kind of when it started getting a little weird, okay? And I'm just like, this isn't normal behavior. And really started being afraid of my dad, really started being afraid of what he could do. Another dinner table thing at a Thanksgiving, this was many years later, and she made his favorite pie. She made his favorite pie, but I think these are the days where you can just buy a crust at the store, right? Just like when you make spaghetti, you don't make the noodles. The noodles are already made, and you buy them at the store. And so she slices the pie, and she offers the piece of pie, and he stops. And he's like, "What is that?" Well, spoiler alert, it's a goddamn piece of pie. You know what I mean? And it's like, "What is that?" It's the kind of pie that you like. Huh. And he's standing there, he's sitting there, and it's like not allowing her to put the piece of pie on the plate. And he goes, "Did you buy it at the store?" No, she doesn't say, "Is it homemade?" He said, "Did you buy it at the store?" "No, I made it here." And he goes, "You made the crust?" And she goes, "No, I bought the crust at the store." And he goes, "Oh, so it's not homemade." And she's like, "No, it is not." And I'm just thinking in my head, how can you not take that piece of pie and shove it right in his face? And it's like this went on and on once again with the lack of empathy. It goes on too long. And so I'm just side eyeing. We're all sitting there saying, "Take the pie," because this is uncomfortable. And things like that went on. My sisters, they remained quiet most of the time. I don't think they caught as much slack. They really just had to be pretty and obedient. And if I might kind of sum up the years in early grade school, okay, I went to a friend's party, and my dad had this weird habit of he would have his camera, and this is the day when you put the camera up to your eye, okay? And he's taking pictures of my sister, he's taking pictures of this and maybe the lake or whatever, and then he would come to me and he'd hold the camera there and not snap the picture. And he'd go, "Okay, all right, smile," and you smile, and you're sitting there, and eventually the smile fades, and he just walks away. Like, I guess what I took from it is, "You're so freaking abhorrent. I can't even take a picture of you." I guess he did this all the time, all the time, not to the others, to me. And I came across a picture. I was a grown ass man. It was a picture. Somebody said, "Man, I got a picture of us in third grade, and you were at my birthday party." And he sent me the picture. It was on Facebook or something like that. And I'm standing there, and the look on my face, I just see anxiety and depression. That's what I see. Plain as day. I'm at a birthday party. My dad's nowhere near. It's somebody else taking the picture. I'm still thinking like they're going to do that thing that I told you. And all the kids are smiling, and then there's me, and it's just so sad. If I can explain what my childhood started being like, once my dad started picking on me, scapegoating, okay? It would be that picture, and it's just a look of anxiety and depression and very unsure of yourself. And oh, I wish I wasn't here.
So the abuse is growing with these expectations, and then gaslighting starts to really show up after this. So walk us through this.
So in grade school is when more expectations begin, gaslighting begins, and really a lot of getting slapped around, a lot of getting backhanded for things that I don't really see what I did. It was just real quick to get violent with you, and a lot of lurking. It's like you feel like somebody's looking at you, and then you turn around, and sure enough, there is someone looking at you, hiding in the shadows, being quiet, creeping around, watching you. And, he used to do this circular logic, and there was a lot of that. It would be like he's staring at you, and you turn around and say, "What?" And he'll say, "What, what? What? Did I do something wrong? Why? I don't know. Did you do something wrong? No. Well, why would you say that? Well, I just saw you look at, I can't look at my son. Yes, but and it goes around and around, and he asks you a question, you go to answer the question, and he interrupts your cadence. He interrupts you in the middle of the question, and he asks a second question. And then you ask him a question, and while he's answering, or rather than answering, he answers the question with a question. And now you're three down. And it just goes on, and it's very confusing. It's out of nowhere, and I didn't know what to do. He gets you in a situation that's very awkward, and you don't know what to do, and you don't know what to say, but yet he's sitting there menacing you, and he will do a thing where you talk to him, and all of a sudden he closes the distance by half, like takes one giant step towards you, doesn't say anything. It's just like gets you kind of going, oh, well, I really didn't mean that. And then all of a sudden, one giant step towards you. And yes, you could get hit. You could get hit. I'll give you another example of what started happening. We used to have this bathroom. So we're talking about three girls and me. And according to Dad, you couldn't lock the door. And also, it was well known that we knew that it's not a hit to the police. It's not a hit unless you ball up your fist and leave a bruise. And when I got older, I'm like, this is really strange information to give to your children. And it kind of sounds like to me, you're planning on hitting them, or you're trying to control the narrative. They control the narrative. They know what the rules are. You don't. And they can change the rules at any time. So the rule is, if I didn't leave a bruise and I didn't ball up my fist, then you did not get hit. But I think that I got hit a lot of times. In fact, I know it. But anyway, the story that I was getting to was we had a shower that was behind the one door that was unlocked. And I had the shower on, right? I'm like seated, preparing to get into the shower, if you could get the picture. And all of a sudden, the door comes flying open. I just remember my dad comes barreling in, and the next thing I know, I'm getting slapped. First the right side, then the left side, the right side. It's just particularly unexpected. Okay. And this happened many times. And so it's like your safety, your level of safety is affected because there's absolutely nowhere in the house that you're safe. There's absolutely nowhere in the house that can't be turned into, a war zone at any moment.
So things are feeling like a war zone for you. And I know you wanted to touch on this image that your dad wanted to portray of the family, and you wanted to really hammer that home. So tell us more about this.
As was with my mother and all of us, it's like he wants to have the perfect family there. And if you don't portray that, okay, if you don't portray that, then you're in big trouble. I mean, you're basically put on the hot spot at all times. And I'll give you for instance, there was one time that my dad comes barreling in, and he says, what size jeans do you wear? And I don't remember what size it was, but whatever it was. And also, I don't know if you know this, but children grow. Okay. And whatever it was, it's an unacceptable question. And he just keeps going through it. And you're sure that you wear this size? Yes. You are positive. And I'm like, yes, look at it. Here it is. Well, why didn't you tell me that there was a problem and blah, blah, blah? Anyway, I'm not going to put you through all that. But basically, at a certain point, he loses control. And he says, get in the car. And I'm definitely in trouble. I don't know where we're going. He makes me get in the car. We drive to a JCPenney. He gets out. He's like practically holding me by the arm and dragging me in there. But I knew enough to try to save face a little bit and walk in. And it's like he calls the salesman over there. And he says that he has a size, blah, 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 waist. And he's being very loud. And he goes, is that possible? Can that be possible? And a lot of raising of my shirt and like looking at me and grabbing the and pinching it. And then he tells the guy, bring me a tape measure. And I wouldn't say the crowd gathers, but everybody just looking through the shirts and stuff, they got one eye on us. And the guy does it. It's measuring of the waist. And sure enough, he confirms that it's the proper gene. Surprise. And my dad is just yelling and drawing a lot of attention and humiliating me on purpose. Okay. A lot of shaming me about my weight and my mother about her weight. And this is around the time that I started developing a lot of tics, okay, and anxiety. And I had this thing where I would scratch the back of my neck, like using your shoulder to scratch the back of your neck, first the right side, then the left side. And which I look at now, it's a self-soothing thing. And so now I'm really not looking too good in his eyes.
So eventually, what you told me, this type of gaslighting event started to occur where he would bring someone else into this story, into like a kind of a triangulation where he'd ask you a question, you'd answer, he'd then say it is a lie and say that they heard from someone else another version of that story and say something like, so I guess your mother is wrong then. And it's this real big gaslighting triangulation that is occurring. And on top of everything that has already occurred already with your dad and you and what you're dealing with, this really got you hanging outside the home way more often. So what happens from here?
And I'm definitely at this point avoiding him. And God bless my friends, because I'm telling you, this is the part when on Sunday during the summer, I would get up early and go over to my friend's house and stay all day. And that must have been a pain. Now that I'm an adult, his parents must have been going, does this kid ever go home? I didn't want to be at home because me and my mother both, we wanted to be wallflowers, fade into the woodwork, as my mom used to say. Fade into the woodwork, don't get noticed, don't make any noise, don't say anything. Those are my mantra. Do not speak. Because if you spoke, it would get twisted around. And at that time was when I think really one of the main things happened that was very formative and traumatic, which was there's Golden Gloves. I don't know if you're familiar with the amateur boxing tournament Golden Gloves. And my friend's dad had season tickets forever and ever, ringside seats. And my dad asked me to ask my friend to ask his dad if he could have his tickets, if he were using his tickets on a certain night, which is weird because my dad had money. I don't know. It's just a way to get ringside seats, I guess. So, yeah. So they do, he gives them the tickets, which were these little tear off tickets. My dad went, it comes to be that night. And once you know it, that's a night that my friend and his next door neighbor and some other guy, they're like, we're wanting to go to the show. And I said, well, my dad has tickets. And he said, my dad said just to grab the next night's tickets. If they notice you don't go, just give them the next night's tickets. And sure enough, we went to try this and they did let us in. And so we went in and we go there and we're doing what we do, which is walk around and I guess dip snuff and buy sodas. And then we go see if my dad's over there. And he is there, drunk as a skunk, but not with my mom. And I want to tell you, they were making an eyesore out of themselves. Both wasted, ringside. And my friends are there, and I guess they're not feeling about it the same way I am, which is I'm still very innocent at this age, and I'm totally devastated. I understand now he's not the first person that ever had an affair or whatever was going on, but I was devastated. And I was trying to play it off. Yeah, that's crazy. But eventually it got to me, and we're not watching the boxing anymore. We're watching this. And I just remember I went over there and I did the thing where you just kind of like hold up your hands and your arms, like, what the hell? Like that. And my dad sees me and they leave. So the next morning, I stayed up all night crying. Okay. And the next morning, I remember we were in the laundry room and he's, getting his clothes, he's getting his socks out of the dryer or whatever. And I'm bawling my eyes out. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm just like, "What's wrong?" I mean, catching you with another woman. And he just laughs at me like, "Oh, this kid, get a load of him." And I'm totally devastated. And this is when he's participating in darvo, right? Deny, attack, reverse victim offender, which I call the old flipperooski. It's like I went there wanting a little bit of emotional support and a little bit of maybe an explanation, maybe an apology, but at least like, "I'm sorry you had to see that." But instead, I got a lecture. It's like, he didn't do anything wrong, but what's the deal with you using a ticket? Where did you get the tickets? And I told him, and it's like, all of a sudden the conversation switches over to that and goes on, and he's getting really mad. Okay. And I go to talk to my mom, but my mom knows better than to say anything against him. She just has this way of answering you with grunts and sighs and doesn't really say anything. But I understand why, because she can't take somebody else's side. And I just said, "I can't go to school. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this." And they said, "You have to go." And I just remember it being a big deal to me where it was like, there's absolutely no empathy at all. And even my mom, who I love very much, she's a great mother, she can't do anything either. In other words, nobody can help you.
So this has all taken place before junior high. Your dad really enjoys playing logic games with you, circular conversations, gaslighting, triangulation games, physical abuse, body shaming, achievement shaming, never being good enough, humiliation. He's really making you less than. And he's an expert blame shifter as well, putting things back on you, and you're not getting any comfort at all. And he's someone who's walking around, thinks that they're this grand person. That's how he views himself. He wants everyone to fall in line as this perfect accessory to himself, this grand person. He's above everything and everyone is below him. And you have to live in that world of when he wants to exert his power and control. He's going to do it in multiple different ways. So that's a lot to deal with at this point. You're already having tics, anxiety, all of these things, and you're barely 12. So what happens when you do hit junior high?
Well, the abuse becomes grinding. Okay. Really laying into it, and a lot of shaming. And I wrote myself a note about, they don't tell you anything, but they expect you to know what they're thinking. Like, they don't tell you how to do a certain task or whatever, but you should have known. I'll give you an example. There was this time when I started playing guitar. I'd been playing guitar for a very short amount of time. Was it a year and a half? I don't know, maybe 2 years. But I had already formed a band with these guys, and we had learned two songs, one of them being Freebird, and the other one being Come Together by the Beatles. And we want to play this. We don't know anything about finding a gig or anything. I asked my teacher, we wanted to play out in the courtyard, which was an open concept junior high. Okay. And she said, "I don't know. I'm not in charge of that." And I said, "Well, who do I talk to?" And she said, "The principal." And he said, "Yes." He said, "Yes, we can do it. Yeah. Yeah, you guys be set up there in the thing." And we set up. There's a lot. Our light show was a friend's science project. Okay, it's like series circuit, parallel circuit. It was a lot of cute stuff. Looking back, it's just funny as hell. And we set up the band. I had only been playing guitar for 2 years at the most, but we're gonna give it hell. And we got up there. We played. Was it bad? I'm sure it was. But, we did it. We got up there and did it. We played both songs. And I remember my friends kind of knowing around the stage, smiling at me, which I don't remember it. I didn't have any fear that any of my friends or anybody there was going to go, "Boo, you guys suck." Everybody was just kind of smiling, sitting around laughing, waiting to talk to me. And all of a sudden, I turn around and there's my dad. My dad, this was not a pet thing. This is a normal day at the classroom. And he walked onto campus, saw my thing, and I think saw me getting autonomy because I hadn't told him anything about it. And why would I? Why the heck would I? I didn't say anything to him about it. He caught wind of it from my mother because I told her everything, and I guess he got it out of her. And but he didn't say anything to me. I didn't know he was coming. He didn't say he was coming. I don't want him to come. And all of a sudden, he's there, and he's in a rage. He's in a rage. He's yelling at me, and it was, "Why didn't you tell me you needed help?" And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why didn't you tell me that you needed singing lessons? I didn't know. You have to tell me these things. And I go, I didn't know I needed singing lessons. She's like, what? I'm not going to drag you through the whole thing. You understand now that it's somebody that isn't going to stop. They're going to keep grinding and grinding. Only all of my classmates are watching me. And I get told that basically shouldn't have gotten up on stage. This is a mistake. Like, he literally needs you to explain how on earth could you be so horrible and not ask for singing lessons. Well, anyway, I start crying. I think I was 8th grade. I start crying, and my friends kind of file back to class. And once again, another humiliation in front of my classmates. And another thing having to do with the guitar, too. But when I look back on it, yeah, I wrote down that he has the ability to snatch defeat from the claws of victory. I mean, to me, I don't care what you played like. You came up with an idea to have a concert, got a meeting with the principal, and you convinced him to give you a concert, and then you went and played the concert. That's kick-ass. That's what I'd say. That's what I would say to my daughter. It wouldn't have mattered about whether it was good. It's 8th grade. He's been playing 2 years. How good's it going to be? Unless there's some virtuoso. And this is just the kind of thing. He puts you in positions of being really hurt. He will put you where you're a worm dangling on a hook. Okay? Set up opportunities to cause you shame. And they'll like relay stories about you, but change the details where you come off like a complete idiot. I'll tell you another thing that started happening around this age, and they'll get you in the car and then they'll torture you in different ways. What my dad liked to do, he was frequently drunk, is start going real fast and say, "Hey, do you want to drive?" You can't, you better drive. Because he's let go of the wheel, and you're driving from over the passenger seat, steering with your left hand, and he starts flooring it. He'll start flooring it, and you can't do it. You can't keep up, and you're getting off into the shoulder, and it's like we could really have a horrible collision here. And you think it's just funny because you're thinking, as a child, you're thinking about, I'm going to kill the entire family. And then you listen to enough of these podcasts, and I've heard this story told by many other people, not connected to me at all, that this is a thing that they do. They get you in the car. And another thing that he should do is look at you in the rearview mirror. If you're in the back seat, he'll drive and he'll adjust the rearview mirror where it's you, totally full you in the rearview mirror, and stare at you and not look at the road. And he just keeps staring at you. And if you say, "What?" he'll go, "What?" Circular logic, just not saying anything. What am I doing? I'm just looking at you. Why? Why are you so nervous? Why are you so paranoid? What did you do? I didn't do anything, but you're going off the side of the road. Okay, well, why don't you let me drive? And then still staring at you. It's a control thing. I'll kill us all if I want to. Yeah, it's his way of saying, "Oh, well, we're just having fun." But deep down inside, I could kill us all because he's a control freak. Okay? There's more constantly lurking and then, boom, popping out unexpectedly and raging on you. This happens a million times. And this goes on and on. And towards the end of junior high, it's first beer time. Okay? But the thing is, I think I don't know that I'm suffering from a lot of anxiety, from a lot of walking on eggshells, cortisol flooding all the time. You're on pins and needles. You're afraid. It's fight, flight, or fawn. I didn't know any of those terms. And so me and my friend said, we have this older friend. He said, yeah, I'll buy you guys beer. So I drank 5 beers. And what was the effect? Okay. And it had a much bigger effect on me in a good way. Like I felt like I could finally breathe. Okay. I also felt like, yeah, I'm being like the grown-ups now, which is kind of part of the deal. But yeah, to drink 5, I think I was getting more of the same thing the first time I tried pot. And I think there was a decision made. It's like, I'd rather hang out with these guys and do that than be at the house any day. And plus, I think it was helping me. And it would go like that for a long time. Long time. I think it works until it doesn't work. And then there you are. And you've got to deal with some consequences and stuff like that. So we're going to high school, and really, it's more of the same. It's more of the same. I'm kind of slipping maybe onto the wrong side of the tracks, and I'm trying to stay away. I'm trying to stay away as much as I can from my house. When you are at the house, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop constantly. The biggest problem is that you never feel safe. When you grow up feeling unsafe, that trails you into adulthood in a million subtle ways. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the only fundamental level that's deeper than safety is food and water. And now, if you were to ask my father, he would say, well, of course you were safe. You had a roof over your head, blah, blah, blah. Not that kind of safe. Okay. You can have things, but when you're going to be attacked at any moment, and it just kind of wears on you. It wears on you after a while. And as I listen to a lot of people's stories, ADD comes up. ADD comes up. I've been diagnosed with ADD, and it wasn't a check off list at your doctor's office. Okay. Your memory is altered, and your ability to learn and things like focus and planning. And I've also heard making lists, following lists. And that is me. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, you're just forgetful. It's more like you can make all kinds of plans and have lists and everything, and the next day it's all out the window. It's like you can't keep track of all of this stuff. And I think I started having a whole lot of problems like that in high school, towards the end of high school, and going into college. Okay. And I mean, I feel like I was doing alcohol and other things to survive, to cope, to get through the day. I'm just trying to get through the day. Okay. And I went nuts. I went nuts. I went way overboard. Believe me, I paid a price for it later on. And I knew there was a problem. We're talking because I flunked out. Okay. I flunked out of college. And when they came to get me, all my sisters were in tow. Because it wasn't like there was no phone call. It's like he showed up with the truck. And it's like, you're coming with us. And all of my sisters are there. And it was bad. And I felt bad. But, it was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If ever I was a persona non grata before, I was now. Okay. Except for my mother and my oldest sister. They always support me. Even when I flunked out of college and my dad showed up with my sisters in tow and everything like that, I was treated like the ultimate derelict. Okay. And I got back and I joined a punk rock band. It was like at this point I'd given up. I'm just like, there's no redeeming yourself. And so if I'm going to be bad, then I might as well be bad. And the same kind of abuse kept on going. And now I kind of felt like it was deserved. Okay. I kind of went along with it. And I would be with my friends and playing in a band. I was playing in the punk band. And that was great times. We were writing music. We produced 2 CDs. And we were working hard. I listen to music now because that was in 85. Still holds up. Yeah, no, we didn't go anywhere. But it wasn't like I was just sitting around doing nothing. As a matter of fact, I went to a technical college and I graduated. But I think that the whole situation, it had such a hold on me that I'm spiraling down. Because the other guys, yeah, we're all partying, but at a certain point, you get to a part where you're kind of like, oh, this isn't going to work out. This is not, there's no future in this. And they went on and did great. Me, I never could pull out of it. And once again, I think it's because, yeah, well, addiction, but also what it did for me, what my reaction was. And what it did for me, it softened the blow on these feelings. It softened the blow where you just go into your fantasy world and all of these things that you're dealing with just don't hit you as hard. So after I graduated that technical college, which did not result in any kind of job or anything, I ended up moving to Colorado. I moved away and I stayed over there and I tried to make a go of it. I don't know, just change the scenery. But you know what? No matter where you go, there you are. And kind of got right back into the same thing. So then in 2009, around, I started making a serious step. Now I'm back in Texas. Okay. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for myself. And I do that. I go to rehab. I join AA. I start working the steps. I'm dead serious. I go back to college. I go to a community college. And I decided I wanted to do X-ray. And I am doing my AA and I'm doing school at the same time. And every time I talk to my father, he only wants to discuss the past. If you're saying that you're doing this and you're doing this, it's like, well, we've heard that before, haven't we? And I'm doing so well in school. I'm Dean's List. I've managed to get enough scholarships that I never paid for any school. I just, the scholarships paid for everything. And they were academic scholarships because I had a 4.0 GPA. And I'll tell you what, there wasn't a long list of people that thought I was going to do that. But all my dad wants to do is talk about the past. It's like a broken record. Okay. It's the same thing. There's no seeing that something has changed. And there's no seeing that something's changed. Hey, when I got out of school, yeah, there was another relapse. The way it is to somebody like that, it just has to be perfect. You quit on this day, and the next day you never drink for the rest of your life. And if it's not that, you're scum. But it is like that. That's the way it goes. I've been around the recovery community for a long enough time because I never left. Hey, man, I relapsed and I screwed up, but I got back in there and kept swinging. That's the way it goes. Your brain talks you into, or whatever it is, that you're fine now. And you are, but only if you stay clean. So at a certain point, you can't be the one that needs help. Everybody else is either faking it or they're lying or they have some other motive in mind. Very, what's it called? Very cynical about other people's motives. And nobody in the world has a genuine motive, a pure motive. And they must get that because they don't have any pure motives. It's all about what you can provide for them. Well, at a certain point, my oldest sister, she tells me that she went to the doctor and that she got some bad news and her liver enzymes or whatever the liver numbers are were off. And she talked about it and I said, great, you go to AA with me. You know, we'll be a team. Well,
after a while, I didn't lose contact with her. We kept on talking, but it just faded from the conversation. And unbeknownst to me, she was still drinking, maybe more than everybody else realized, but she had to hide it. And I understand why, because I mean, all you have to do is look at what happened to me. And she's probably was going, I'm not going to be the one saying, oh, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. She was just like, I'm going to maintain and I'll do it. Well, at a certain point, she, I guess, got real bad, and her daughter noticed bruising. They covered her entire head. She's wearing makeup and stuff like that. And when she went into the hospital, it was over. It seemed like in a flash. And she passed away. I was there. I watched her take her last breath. And I just know that if we had a situation where you could say, hey, I tried to quit drinking, I couldn't make it. Now I need help. That maybe she'd still be with us, because she died at the age of 58.
So now as a family, you're starting to see the effects of your dad, not just on you as the scapegoat. And now you yourself, you're at a point where you're really trying to stay away from your dad, but he's really trying to pull you back in. So tell us about this.
At a certain point, I get a call, and my mother calls me and she says, I'm worried about your father. And what had happened was, I had talked to my mom and I learned about narcissistic abuse. And she said, how come you're not coming over? What's wrong? There has to be something wrong with you. And I said, I'm not coming around dad anymore. And she says, why not? And I said, because of the abuse. Because of the lifelong abuse. Well, I guess she told him. And she sent me a text. I'm very worried about your father. I'm very worried. He got in the car and he left. By this time, I know better than to tell him where I work or where I live. And she says, he's got in the car. He's coming or something. I said, where's he going to go? Where is he going exactly? And she says, I'm just so worried about him because my mom knows I love her. And she says, I want you to call him. I want you to call him. It's sent via text. And I said, okay, I'm not going to call him. And I called my mother, and she says hello. And then I just hear the phone being pulled away, and it's my father. And he's right as rain. There's nothing wrong with him. He's chill and calm and cool as a cucumber. And he's talking to me about, what's this I hear about I abused you? And I said, yeah, you abused me. And he goes, well, it sure is funny that nobody says anything about it while they're kids. But then later on, they say something, and I just hung up. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way that works. That is the way that works. You grow up, you do some research, and you realize what it was. And this thing about me having a hard time getting through life, that it might have something to do with that. That my sister being unable to ask for help and then dying might have something to do with that. Okay. And I'm thinking that was around 2021, somewhere around there. And I've been no contact since then. And I just don't think that it's a mystery that addicts that have a history of abuse, ptsd, anxiety, depression, that you're an addict. But even in AA, which I don't subscribe to anymore, okay, I'm doing other things. I'm trying to look at the original problem. Because, yeah, okay, you drink. You do this stuff, but why? Why do you do it? What is it that happened that for you to do something that could kill you, that's an acceptable risk? Okay, what are you getting from it? And what I try to do now is I try to focus on that. I mean, if I could tell you where I've gone since then is I'm involved with Oxford House. Oxford House is a recovery community, and it is a sober living house. They're in over 350 countries. And right now, I'm part of a core member of people that we're building a house. We're building a recovery house, okay? And where you really get to help people. And you wake up in the morning and you're in recovery, okay? It's like, there's no doubt you're right there. And there's certain responsibilities that you have, but there's lots of opportunities to get a lot of knowledge about recovery, to see people falling off and trying to make sure that you're not one of them, and help people too, to help people a great deal. I don't have any plans of contacting my father. The thing with my mother, who I love very much, the last time I went over there, we had an opportunity to have lunch. I wanted to start having lunch with her weekly because I don't want to feel like I abandoned her. Okay. And we went over and we had a few lunches. And then she said, "Why don't you come to the house?" And I said, "I don't want to go there because Dad might show up." And she said, basically, she promised me he wasn't going to be there. He's doing something that there's no way he's going to be there. I got over there. I wasn't there 10 minutes. And he walked in, and my mom's face just went right towards the ground. Like she knew. He made her tell him, "I guess there's an APB on me." It's like, you talk to him. When you talk to him, get him to come over here. Like, she has to do it. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I'm just telling you, you can tell that he knew I was going to be there and she knew I was going to be there. And I got up and I walked out, and I haven't seen him since. And that's the way it's going to be. And that's where I am. And all I can say is I hope he dies before my mother does. Because they're old. Because I would like to spend time with my mother, but I know that's not going to happen while he's alive.
And if you had any words of wisdom for everyone listening, what would they be?
Well, I remember Nova's story resonated with me. Okay. She's laughing. There's funny parts. You got to keep a sense of humor. And she said, I guess she was 31. I guess she was 30. I'm much older, twice as old. And she said, they got the first 31 years, but the next 31 are mine. And that's the way I feel about it. That's the way I feel. And what I would suggest to people is to just get a couple of inches, get a couple of feet, and then get a couple of yards, and then hit the door, and then leave. Don't give them your address. Block them on all social media. Block their phone numbers and all people associated with them. And you do that, and you do not owe anybody any explanation, and you do not owe anybody a apology. You don't owe any apologies. Just cut it off, and then you can start recovering.
Well, Tommy, I really want to thank you for being here with me today. And I think everyone listening is angry for you. And you didn't deserve anything that happened to you. And I think the way you're going about things and really investigating what's underneath the addiction and attacking that is, the right way to go about things, because you're nipping the real cause of it all, not the symptom of it all. And I think everyone is going to say something right now to you that you don't hear that much in your life, which is, we're proud of you. And we really are proud of you for who you are and where you've come from and everything that you've done. We're proud of you that you're still sitting here and on this other side of this journey to help other people. And that's a big deal, and you're a big deal. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. You helped me a great deal. I'll be listening. You better believe it.
Well, thank you once again, Tommy, for being here with us today. And if you want to be a guest like Tommy was today, please do go to our website at narcissistapocalypse.com, click on the guest form, fill out the guest form, press the submit button, and we'll go from there. We also have a support group at our website at narcissistapocalypse.com with Zoom meetings every Wednesday nights, Thursday afternoons, and Saturday nights. And we have a newsletter at our website, and you get a free workbook for every new survivor story with every newsletter that comes out. And that is a weekly newsletter, so sign up today at narcissistapocalypse.com. And that is it for today's survivor story. So for myself and Tommy, we hope you have a good night.